Welcome to the Duchy. It's time for another episode of the Dukes of Dice podcast, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network.
Coming to you from the Duchy of the Duke City, Albuquerque, New Mexico, it's the Dukes of Dice, a podcast about board, card, and occasionally role-playing games. Today, Sean is joined by his buddies Andy and Ellie as they recap the inaugural SeanCon. Then, they'll review Lords of Hellas. And now, the Dukes of Dice. Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is Sean, and this is episode 180, which we're calling Achilles' Heel and Sean's Wheel, named by Jesse Black. We're talking about Lords of Hellas, and it makes sense. The Achilles and this type of dudes on the map game is right in my wheelhouse. So congrats to Jesse for naming episode 180. I'm joined by two people, and before I introduce them, let me say that, again, related to the episode title, it was a very contentious debate, and Schwazi had to be decided. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end of the episode when we go over the runners-up. Every week we get help from our guild number 2008 over on Board Game Geek. Head on over there if you want to find out what's going on in the Duchy and things like that. So anyway, let's introduce our special guest. There's no Alex this episode. Alex is not here at SeanCon 2018. So instead, I'm joined by two people I have some familiarity with. I won't give them any other benefit than that. Andrew Heflich, Andy to me, Andrew to everyone else. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. I was waiting for my opportunity to speak.
You just got to jump in. Just jump in. Don't wait.
I'm kind of shy.
You're not.
Okay.
That is. So if people want to understand Andrew, because I'll call you Andrew since that's what you prefer to be called, even though it tastes like
ash in your mouth.
Yeah. Andrew was like me, but turned up to 11.
You can't tell by listening to this, though, can you, Sean?
No, not at all. And then a familiar voice, my good buddy Ellison to everyone else, but Ellie to me, Ellison Davis. How you doing, buddy?
I go by Ellie with everyone.
No, there was a period where you were like pushing Ellison pretty hard.
I tried for like a year, and it didn't work.
Okay. Well, Ellie, you were at Dice Tower Con the last episode.
I was. It was great. So much fun.
Yeah. So welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about what we're doing here and why Alex isn't here. Again, this is SeanCon, because I have not had an opportunity to go to a bunch of conventions this year. We kind of just floated the idea of you guys coming out here to Albuquerque and playing a bunch of games over a weekend, and that's exactly what we did.
Best con ever.
It was quite nice, actually. I had a lovely time.
Did you have a lovely time?
I did. Once you explained the rules halfway through each game, it was great.
Great. So Andy, you are not a gamer in a true sense.
I am not a gamer in most sense.
Right.
I just happen to be friends with numerous gamers, and that's how they fill their time. And since I value them as people, I decide to go along with their hobbies, which sometimes I don't like, but sometimes I do.
But you've played a great many games of increasing complexity.
I have, and I even do okay at them.
Yeah.
I'm you, but smarter, so it doesn't take me too long to figure them out.
So for reference, Ellie and I, we've been friends since freshman year. We've known each other since middle school, but we weren't really friends until freshman year.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Ellie.
Yeah, let's let Ellie respond to the reference about Ellie.
Yes, I think it was actually freshman year football. So like the first week of freshman year, we were sitting down
A couple weeks before,
and like
football.
And you turned to me, you're like, "Hey, do you like Star Trek?" And I was like, "No." And best friends ever since.
So Andy and I, we knew each other in high school, and I didn't like him in high school, and but he wanted to be friends with me and be like me in high school.
Clearly.
But we became friends in college, freshman year of college.
Out of desperation for you, not for me. I was feeling sympathy for you. All of your friends moved away.
That's true.
And you latched on to the best looking, smartest, funniest guy you could find, and I kind of just let you in.
It's interesting how we remember things through different lenses.
That was your lens.
But here's my question. So had you been friends with like Ellie and me throughout high school, do you think that you would consider yourself more of a gamer? Because that's all we did was game.
Probably, because one of the first things we did as friends, and I came along nicely on, was we played Catan and we played Diplomacy. This was like Yeah, the first game of diplomacy I ever played. Can I tell this story?
Sure.
Sean decided to explain the rules to me. I was Russia, he was England.
Yes.
You were guiding me towards success, quote unquote. You can't see finger quotes through a podcast.
No, actually, we have the plugin through Libsyn that lets you.
Awesome, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, on the first move, he's like, you want to go North Sea. You want to, don't go for Sweden on this one. Or Norway on this one. You want to just go into the sea. Trust me, this is the best move because then you can move some guys this way. The very first possible chance you had, you stabbed me in the back.
Did I?
That was the very first.
Doesn't sound
you
like me.
bounced me out of Norway on the very first chance possible, and somehow I still love that game enough to win at least 2 of them in our years playing. Because we're conniving, you and I.
It's true. It's very true. And in fact, so listeners may remember, this is the Andy of the infamous story where we were playing a game of diplomacy and he flicked a lit cigarette in our other good buddy, Mitch's face.
No, that is the exact... Oh, wait, no, that is exactly what happened.
That is what happened.
I'm sorry. You're right.
You thought Mitch flicked the cigarette in your face?
No, but I remember him being mad
Mitch
at
doesn't
me.
smoke.
I know, but neither do I.
You see,
Wink.
when I talk about different lenses that we see memories through.
You have to remember, though, because there was so much anger that initiated with Mitch. The anger started with Mitch. And Mitch decided, just a little background, at that point I had been married and I had 2 very young children at home, and getting away from the house is difficult sometimes. So Mitch decided that he knew that I was going to take the solo victory and he couldn't do anything to stop it. But what he could do is drag out the game for another 3 or 4 hours, long past when I was supposed to be home. So it initially started out as a funny sort of story you're going to tell people. Literally, he used every 30 minutes of every round to drag it out. And at that point, it was like 10, and I was about 5 hours late after when I said I would be home. So tensions were heated. Having said that, I did take the solo victory.
But you did flick a lit cigarette in his face.
I did flick a lit cigarette in his face.
I remember being outside of Imperial Outpost. That's where we were playing in Phoenix. And just watching it. It was in slow motion.
I remember standing over the board, but that doesn't make sense because I wouldn't have been able to smoke inside.
Yeah, we were outside.
Again, different lenses.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel vindicated.
Ellie, you were there.
I was there, and it was outside. It was at Imperial Outpost, and it was breathtaking.
And it was Andy flicking it into Mitch's face.
Oh, definitely Andy. Yeah, on the record, it was Andrew flicking it into our buddy's face. It was great.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about SeanCon 2018. And hopefully this is, I think this could happen on a regular basis.
I'm in.
Okay. So you guys flew in to Albuquerque from Phoenix, where you both live, Thursday night. And we started off going to the shop, going to Empire Board Game Library to play some Tzolk'in because, hey, it's a SeanCon, so we need to play some Sean favorites. And Tzolk'in was my number 1 game for years. Still top 5? I'm trying to remember this last year's top 10 for me. It's at least top 10 still. Love it. It's a worker placement game from CGE, designed by Simone Ticini, and I can't remember the other designer's name, but it's a worker placement game where time is a resource, literally, because you're trying to let these workers ride these gears, and each turn they're riding the gears, they're able to potentially take better actions. I love this game so much. What did you guys think of it? First game for both of you.
First game playing that for me, and I probably one of my top worker placement games out there right now, if I could say. I really want to get another play of it. And is it online that you can play it all?
It is. You can play it on Board Game Arena.
We should definitely do that.
Yeah,
I would definitely do that.
I agree. I really like that one. It was an easy learn. Obviously, there's a bunch of strategy to pick up, or tactic rather. We'll go with.
It's a more tactical game. Yeah,
yes.
There is strategy, but yeah.
But no, there seemed to be many different paths to victory for multiple players, and I really enjoyed playing that one. It was a lot quicker than it looks during the setup because it looks more complex than it actually is.
It looks super intimidating. And speaking of looks, I have a beautiful. No, not you, Andy. I have a beautiful copy of Tzolk'in. I've upgraded the resources with Jamie Stegmaier's the Stonemaier Games resources. I've got the corn from Meeple Realty. My gears are painted, and I just ordered some special workers from Etsy.
And that's why I can't buy it, because I'd always want to play on your copy.
You gotta put the effort in. You gotta put the effort in to bling it out. I will say that that listener of the show, Todd Kauk, because Alex would be very disappointed with me if I didn't pronounce that correctly, and so would Todd, frankly. So I also have a a shadow box of the game. I have another copy that I purchased to put in a shadow box because it's a beautiful game. And so he posted a picture on Twitter of breaking the glass because I was wondering if I had to actually do that to play the game. No, Todd, I have 2 copies because I'm a weird person. So, but that was it for Thursday. As far as gaming goes, you have a quizzical look. Oh, did we play Chimera?
We played Chimera.
Oh, we played Chimera. That's right. Yeah, we played Chimera, which is a 3-person, although there is now a new edition that plays up to 5 people. It is a ladder climbing or shedding game designed by Ralph H. Anderson. I've described it as 3-player Tichu. You guys hadn't played Tichu before.
No.
But basically you are dealing out these cards. The deck is 5 suits from 1 to 12 with an H, which is kind of like a 13. And then there are 2 special cards, the Pia and the Chimera.
Thank you for re-explaining what the game was. I was a little bleary-eyed Thursday afternoon, and I forgot. I remember playing Chimera. I remember the name, but I happened to forget I remember liking that one, too. That was fun. Thank you, though, for waking up a part of my brain that seemed to have fallen asleep that afternoon for various reasons.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. So I really love these shedding ladder climbing games where you're basically trying to shed your hand first. And you do that by playing hands of cards, and people can follow with a similar ranked or similar type of hand, but of a higher rank. So like maybe I'm going to play 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s. Those are sequential pairs. And then Andy, if you can do 2 3s, 2 4s, 2 5s, you would beat it.
One thing I really loved about the game is like 2 players in the threesome are the hunters. The other one is the Chimera, and it's a good way to sort of work against the other hunters is trying to find the 11s and the 7? 2s.
11s and 2s.
11s and 2s. And, part of the strategy is trying to pick up those cards and being, very strategic on when you're going to play them and knowing that you're going to get them back by winning the suit.
Right. Basically, so there's the way the scoring works is that there's initial bidding as to who's going to be the 1 against the 2. And you have the potential for the more points by winning as that 1, that Chimera. But there's additional points you can get through certain cards and through doing certain things in the course of a round.
I remember ending that game early because Ellie was so far ahead after 3 or 4 rounds.
Oh, that's not why, because one of you was cranky.
I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that it was me.
Yes, I think it was you. No, actually, there are big swings of points that can happen in that game because you're bidding and you're potentially losing points as the Chimera if you're bidding and losing. So,
but at the point you decide to call it, I was dominating.
That is true. That is true. Okay. So that ended the night of gaming on Thursday night. Then we met with Raquel and Mariah and Chewy. We went to Sadie's, which is a local favorite New Mexican restaurant. We had this ridiculous plate of nachos that was like, so you know how they bring out like a big giant heaping pile of chips and there's just one level of cheese on it and stuff. And then you go through that top layer and then it's all just like plain chips underneath. That was not the case here. They like layered the whole thing. It was pretty incredible.
They used an entire brick of cheese. I just set up my iPhone Plus. If you were to stack it 2 long ways, I would say that still isn't as tall as how high the nachos were. Is that maybe about that high?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was comically big.
Yeah, like something from a Dagwood cartoon. Is that Blondie? Is that still a thing a reference that kids get?
I think so.
Okay. The guy.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Yeah, we did order the large though.
It's true. in their defense,
the waitress gave us a look of like disgust when we ordered. She's like, "Are you sure you want the large?"
Yeah. Well, we all immediately changed our orders.
Well, there was 6 of us. I mean, come on. What, are we going to get a small?
So afterwards, we went to Uptown Funk, which is the local piano bar. And Andy, you were the tambourine man.
I rented a tambourine for $5.
Well, you tipped them.
I tipped them $5 and I stole their tambourine.
Yes.
And it was fun. I made friends with a dancing tambourine act that I've been working on for a while.
It was good. It was highly skilled.
I feel it's really coming along. I use mid-thigh. Some people try to use their hip when they're banging a tambourine. You want to use mid-thigh. It gets the best sound and it looks rhythmic, right? That's what this podcast is about, is tambourine dancing.
Yeah.
You looked really great doing it too.
So we'll just say, since we're part of the Dice Tower Network and a family show, we'll just say that it was kind of a rough night when all was said and done. But to our credit, we were up and at 'em Friday morning, 8 a.m. I called you guys at 7:50 7:55, because I was supposed to pick you up at 8. I had food in hand. I had dealt with Chewy, done all sorts of stuff, and you guys I just woke you up, Ellie.
At 7:55, I showered and was down in this car by 8 a.m. I promise.
Yeah, no, it was super solid.
I feel like there's a picture on your feed, on your Twitter
feed
that accurately represents how I was feeling that morning, holding up a copy of Chimera with Ellie.
Because we didn't take a picture the day before. So.
Right, so we did it at 8 a.m. that morning. And man, I look great.
Which is, you're saying the opposite, right?
I mean, for how I'm feeling, I feel like I stand by it.
So yeah, we got to open up Empire early. They opened it at noon, and we got in early. We started off with Ganz schon clever. Our good buddy Matthew showed up. Matthew, who's everyone knows Matthew. Yeah, so I've talked about this. We talked about it recently. It's a nominee for the Kinderspiel des Jahres this year. Actually, did they make the announcements on those? I'm completely forgetting. But it's a fantastic roll and write. Ganz schon clever, German for that's so clever, that's so Raven or something. I don't know.
I don't know German.
Hopefully there's going to be an English translation of this. What'd you guys think of it?
It was great. I loved how you asked me to look something up in the rules, and when you gave me the rule book, it's in German. So that was always fun, especially at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. You're like, am I just this hungover, or have I forgotten how to read English? I don't remember.
A little bit of both. It's a super great game when you're choosing the different colored die to go into different sections. I want to play it a couple more times because the first time you're just trying to figure out what makes the most sense, and then you watch Sean rack up points, and you're like, huh. So that's what I should have been doing the entire game.
I would hate for any of your audience to infer that Sean won that game, though, just for the record, because Sean did not win that game against a hungover version of his better self. I believe it was, who was it? Was it me?
I don't recall.
I believe it was me that won that game.
The next thing that we played, because by this point, our other buddy Eugene had showed up. So we had 5, and we were kind of thinking, what are we going to do for 5? Because 5 is kind of a hard number, especially if you're trying to do something meaty. So Matthew, who is not the biggest fan of Scythe, he's not the biggest fan of dudes on a map, and I use that term loosely with Scythe. But still not, he decided to take one for the team, and he wanted to give Scythe another chance. And one of my favorites, so another great SeanCon game, because it's easily a top 10 game for me. I love it so much. If you're not familiar with it, it is, well, you should be familiar with it. It's a Stonemaier game designed by Jamie Stegmaier. Forgot his name for a second. Sorry, Jamie.
Good job.
And this is a really interesting kind of hybrid game. It's very Euro-y with amazing, amazing art. It's this cool alternate reality or alternate timeline. It's mechs in this post-World War I era. And it's just, it's so great. It's such a great game. And combat is not the focus by any stretch of the imagination, but the threat of combat's always looming. And we played with the Invaders from Afar expansion. We have access to the Wind Gambit, which has the airships, but we didn't want to play with that just because it was still kind of new-ish for a lot of people. I think you've played it a bunch, right?
Yeah, I actually, Andrew bought it for my birthday.
Oh,
yeah.
What a nice guy.
It was great. What did you get me for my birthday?
Nothing.
Okay.
I live in a different city.
It was a selfish purchase. I love that game as well.
I figured
and
that.
I don't have games at my house. So, I just thought I could use Ellie's greatness. And also, I just love him so much. He's such a wonderful person.
So you played that for the first time in Phoenix at the con that I came out for.
Correct.
Arizona Game Fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a blast, and I played it a couple times.
Yeah. It's just a fantastic game.
I'm horrible at it, but I love it.
Yeah.
I'm really good at it, and I love it. I should have won. You and Eugene had 71.
Yes.
Tied.
We tied.
He
Eugene
snuck
won.
in at I had 70. However, I needlessly placed my mill in just a random territory that I occupied, not knowing that you get 2 extra points if you put it next to something as opposed to in whatever the square, the hexagon with the little symbol.
The factory. Or the encounter symbol.
If I had placed it, I would have won, and I'm disappointed in myself.
So you're saying paying attention to the end game conditions is important when you're playing a board game?
I would say that in the condition I was in, I'm pretty proud of my score regardless.
And I would say that I would have had an extra 4 points had Ellie, anytime within the last 5 turns, had used his upgrade ability. Now, keep in mind, Ellie, you used the spot where you could have used the upgrade, but you never had the upgrade.
I never had the oil.
I know. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And that would have given me a boost from my enlistment guy, which would have given me one more point of power, which would have given me another star.
That would have been really good for you.
You and Matthew both kept going there and not doing it. It was driving me insane.
One thing that's important that is has been my motto, not just in gaming, but specifically Scythe, but in life in general, is how important that popularity is. Because my popularity in Scythe is what put me almost over the top.
Yeah.
I was the only one in the top tier for popularity, and it really helped my points at the end game.
You have some control over how you're scoring based on how popular you decide to be during the course of the game.
Yeah.
So,
kids, being popular is the most important thing in life.
well, after Scythe, you called it quits.
I went to the gym. Mm-hmm. I took a swim, and then I napped for about an hour and a half.
Okay.
And I rallied pretty hard.
Well, I would hope so after you take a nap for an hour and a half.
Well, the other things too.
Sure.
Yeah, but mostly the nap.
Well, we kept gaming. The true gamers that we are, Ellie and I, we kept gaming. We wound up playing the new edition of Container. I think it's like the 10th anniversary edition. It's from Mercury Games. And I'd wanted to play this for a long time, and I'm glad that this new edition's out. It is an incredible edition. It is
Chunky.
super chunky. I mean, we're talking actual feel and weight of the components. You have these big container ships, these big like cargo ships, and all of the components are just super chunky.
Like the warehouse feels like heavy in your hand. It's great. Oh,
yeah. And this is a pretty straightforward game mechanically, rules wise.
You're doing 2 actions on every turn. That's it.
Right. Basically, you have this board in front of you that has you have some machines that let you produce goods, different types of goods, and then you have warehouses which lets you store goods ready to be shipped. And so on your turn, you're either making goods and then setting the value for people to buy them to add to their warehouses, or you are purchasing goods from other players so that you can put them in your warehouses and set a value for those, or you're sending your ships around to purchase the prepared goods from the warehouses from other players. Eventually, you have a whole cargo load that goes to the central island, and you're able to auction that off. And so everyone else auctions or bids for your ship, which is going to result in some end game scoring for them. But then you have the option of paying the high bid. If you don't pay the high bid, this is you who's setting the auction, right? If you decide not to do that, you can pay what was bid in order to keep them for your scoring purposes. Otherwise, you get the money of the highest bidder, and then the bank matches it.
The bank matches it, and one of the things I thought was most interesting about the endgame scoring is that the container color that you have the most of is going away for your scoring.
Right.
Gone.
Some sort of spoilage or something. I don't know how exactly what that signifies. But yeah, and that's the other thing too. Everyone scores for different goods differently, and it's secret. So you get a card at the beginning of the game that says brown is worth 10 for you, purple's worth this much, blue is worth this much, whatever. And yeah, it was really interesting. And we collapsed the economy. Eugene, Matt. Oh yeah, by the way, Matt Walker had shown up. I don't think I mentioned that Matt was there. Matt and Matthew. Not in this game though. Matthew was in this game. Matt was in this game. It was you, me, Matt, and Eugene. And Eugene, Matt, and I were just doing terribly.
Horribly.
And you were Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah, so I think it's really important, like when you're playing a economy game that you have money, and everyone did not have money to the point where no one could buy anything.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, it's really brutal because you could take out loans, but you can only have 2 loans, and you have to pay interest on them. And if you're unable to pay interest on your loans, then the bank starts seizing the containers that you've been busy producing and earning and whatever. So you won quite handily.
Yeah, I think I had about 87 points.
Yeah, and we were in the tens.
Yeah,
the teens.
Yeah.
So I figured that had I taken no actions all game, because you start with $20, had I literally taken no actions all game, I would have had more money than I ended the game with.
Just selling the container ship from port to port.
No, not even doing that.
Was there an option to put your $20 in the S&P and just sit back and sit out the whole game, or?
There should be. There actually is an expansion module that's in there that's the investment thing. So maybe I could have just done that and just passed every turn.
See, because I didn't play this game with you guys, and hearing you talk about it seems like too close to like my everyday life. You know, like, oh, you got to do this in your finances, and you got to get out at the right time. And I'm not interested in playing a game like that, but it sounds like you guys had fun.
Yeah, no, I liked it quite a bit, even though I'm terrible at it. I'm interested to try it more. I think the heart of the game is figuring out where to price the commodities, both when you produce them and then when you have them available for shipping. And if you don't do that properly, and by the way, Ellie, I love your explanation of your strategy, which basically amounted to buy low, sell high.
It's life.
You're like, guys, let me explain this to you. Let me explain how this works. It's something I kind of been working on, something I developed on my own. I don't know if you've heard this before. Buy low, sell high.
Well, I couldn't understand why you were buying things for $6 and then selling it for like.
No, I wasn't doing that. That's not a thing I was doing. I was trying to undercut the market. I don't want to talk about this game anymore.
We're going to bookend this conversation when we talk about 1846, right?
So the last game that we played that day was it the last game we played that day? Rajas of the Ganges? Or did we come back? Yeah, I think that was the last game we played that day. So we played Rajas of the Ganges, and we're going to hold off on talking about that because that's actually going to be our next featured review next episode when Alex comes back. But we did get a play of that, and that was my second play. It is an interesting worker placement game with dice as a resource. You're scoring both fame and money, and you're trying to basically have those two tracks intersect. Your thoughts, Ellie, since people won't hear your thoughts otherwise.
It's a good game. It's a beautiful production. Like the print on the board's amazing. It's fun. It's a really fun It's a really fun worker placement game. I just think that there's other games I'd probably rather play for the same amount of time and for the same mechanics.
What did we do after that? So that was it, right? We were done Friday night. And then we did something.
I got this.
Okay.
You had a family affair.
Oh, that's right.
Ellie and I went and slept for more hours. What? And we watched Jeopardy. We'll hold off on telling those specific anecdotes.
So that was game 9 of SeanCon was Jeopardy.
Yeah.
An episode of Jeopardy.
I did pretty good. I don't want to brag, but that's my wheelhouse, Sean. And your Achilles heel house.
Now what did we do? So we met up. Where did we go after that?
We went. Hold on. I got this. That wasn't the Irish pub night.
Or was it?
That was.
Oh, that's right. So when I got back, you guys were playing a game with Matthew.
We played the Thanos Infinity War one.
Thanos Rising. So this is a game that I really don't ever want to play. As much as I love the theme, it's something that's come out quite a bit at the shop. Both Matthew and Matt love to play it. What did you guys think of Thanos Rising?
It's not bad.
Okay.
No, it's fun. Like it's a co-op game, so you're working with the other players to kill villains and heal your heroes, and you could gain heroes through certain die rolls, and they give you special abilities. It's nothing I'm gonna buy. It's nothing that I'll would suggest to play. But if someone's like, "Hey, do you want to play it?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's have some fun." It's 45 minutes.
Okay.
Counterpoint. I would never play it again. I mean, it was fine. I especially don't like co-op games. But I'm getting glared at. Yeah, I did not enjoy it so much.
Grabbing the mic away from him.
Or sharing a mic. No, but I think like your kids would like it, and I think that you would play it with your kids.
I don't think they would. I think they'd be bored to tears. My kids are super, intellectual.
I've met your children.
And your kids have better taste in games than you do.
They really do. My 11-year-old's favorite game right now is
Legend of the Five Rings.
Legend of the Five Rings.
The LCG from Fantasy Flight Games.
Yeah, he wants to play it all the time.
Excellent taste. So next time that I'm out there, he and I are going to play a bunch of L5R.
I know. He also loves reals. Sheriff, and he loves any game that involves lying. We play Coup all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty classy kids. They wouldn't waste their time with Thanos.
Yeah.
We also played Coup.
Oh, yeah, we did play Coup.
Oh, let's talk about Coup.
So I used to love Coup, and then for whatever reason, it's good. It's a good game. It's one of your favorite games, Andy.
It's fine for 15 minutes when you...
Yes.
Because it's fun to bring to a restaurant or bar.
Sure.
Yes. And I'm not claiming it's anything better than it is. My kids love it. I like playing it with them. You guys hate that I'm always like, oh, we got 15 minutes. Let's play Coup. You're like, Coup. Yeah. So we decided to play coup, and you guys, knowing that I always like to play coup, decided to just sacrifice yourselves to kill me. You weakened yourselves. Yes.
No. Who? No, hold on. Okay. So we played with 5 players, and the pertinent seating order here was me, Ellie, Andy, in that order. So Ellie and I both had the Duke. By the way, okay, quick explanation of the game. You have 2 cards, a bunch of different roles. As these different roles, you're able to do various things, get more money. Essentially, you're spending money to assassinate or coup other players to kill their 2 cards, more or less. So one of the abilities is the Duke, which lets you get 3 coins. Both Ellie and I had the Duke by happenstance, and we kept getting a bunch of money, and it turned out that in this next upcoming round, I would be able to pay 7 to coup one of Andy's cards, and Ellie would also then be able to coup Andy's remaining card.
Let's not neglect the fact that you said it out loud at the table.
Yes.
Hey, let's get Andy out of the game first.
Yep, sure did. But to your point of weakening ourselves, the last 2 remaining players were me and Ellie won.
I just felt like you had to take a nap. So it was at the right time. You had to go work out. You had to swim and take a nap. We just wanted to help that process because we're friends and we love you.
It was very thoughtful of you to get me out of a 15-minute game 5 minutes early. That was so thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only reason you guys were the last 2 is because the other 2 guys were dumb. No offense. They made dumb moves. Sorry, they weren't dumb. I actually like these people, and I've only met them a couple times.
They're both quite smart.
But they made really stupid coup moves really early on. And
what?
Don't get me. I'm not doing a play-by-play on coup. We're short for time.
Okay, so that was it for Friday. We wound up actually going to the Irish pub afterwards. But Saturday we played 4 games. We played No Thanks. We played Lords of Hellas, which we'll talk about in greater detail here in a second. We played 2 games of Lords of Hellas, and then we played 1846.
1846.
And that was
the
about
game
2/3
that lasts forever.
I was going to say, that's about half. 1846 is about half the number of minutes it takes to play that game. For first-timers, we'll say.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm doing math. Yeah, that's about right.
So I've talked about this here and there. Basically, it is an 18xx game, which basically means there is route building. You're building these trains and these routes, and then there's a stock component to it as well. And this is quickly becoming one of my favorite games. There's certainly a steep learning curve to it. In some respects, the rules aren't super complicated, but others they are. But ultimately, it's learning how to kind of manipulate the markets and build successful routes. So I'm sure you guys have plenty to say. I've shared my thoughts on this game. Definitely a good game for a SeanCon. What did you guys think of 1846? By the way, we played 4 players with Raquel, and Raquel wound up winning.
She did wind up winning. Yeah, it's so. I think playing it the second time, the game would go a lot quicker.
Absolutely.
I think I picked the wrong company to start with the stocks and building routes. So I feel like I sort of injured myself in the beginning of the game. But toward the middle of the game, I felt like the game was moving really quickly, moving really fast. It was fun. You're making decisions on which routes to go, which routes to build, which trains to buy. It was really nice. And then I felt the end game just sort of it stalled out, and the last 2 rounds felt like they lasted for 3 hours.
Yeah.
The last 2 rounds did last for 3 hours. No, I really enjoyed this game, and I agree. I think Ellie and I both made some rookies early on in choosing which companies to choose, because and also the importance of having a lot of money early on and spending a lot of money early on. I wish I hadn't bought those other smaller companies to go with it. Again, a lot of rookie mistakes that I wouldn't make in the future. I would definitely play this one again. I had a good time just until the end game again, as we were playing out the.
I would definitely play this again. I wouldn't want to bring it out when you have like 3 hours to play a couple games. It's definitely let's sit down for the day and play a game.
Yeah, we have to when we play it here locally, it's an appointment game. We're planning to do it typically, and
it's not just something that just kind of falls together at the last minute.
Not typically. Right. And yeah, the first play is usually long because we had 3 completely brand new players to it, and it's a lot quicker once everyone knows what they're doing. Even my turns would take long because typically I'd be able to work out what I'm doing while the other players are going. But I'm kind of answering rules questions, things like that. So yeah, what was the total time on that?
It was probably 6 hours.
Oh, I think it was it more?
We ended at 9 p.m. I don't know what time we started.
So I think around 2. So about 7.
Yeah, we were like, we'll just eat after this game. And then it ended up being like eating lunch after the game. And it ended up being 9 o'clock before we ate lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to the shop at about 9 yesterday, and we left at about 9:30 and clean up. Yeah, we put in a hard day's work.
It was a good day.
It was a good day.
We went out, got some steaks,
Steaks.
which was pretty good, and then just kind of chilled in the hotel bar just because we were all
We're
all
old.
feeling it.
We're old and tired.
So it's Sunday. We all got up early, went to Chewy's soccer game, and now we're here in my office of the law firm because this is where I record nowadays, and telling you about the amazing SeanCon that it was. So
I had fun. I really would do it again.
okay, we'll wrap it up at the end.
Okay.
That's going to do it for our recap of SeanCon 1 of 4. There'll be 4.
Don't let the Twitter feed warn you that SeanCon is not coming back. That's another SeanCon.
There's apparently multiple SeanCons in the world.
We're very popular people.
I guess you just didn't create the most clever name, but I like it nonetheless. I'm not judging.
Yeah, no, cleverness is not something I have time for. All right, well, let's head on to our featured review of Lords of Hellas. You know what, friends? Board game tables are an expensive proposition for sure. But nothing beats the experience of playing your favorite games in style on a high-quality playing surface. Now, thanks to our buddy Berkey and Game Toppers, you can turn your own kitchen or dining room table into a premium, portable game solution with all the features of a high-end gaming table, but, and this is important, at a fraction of the cost. I have played games on these Game Toppers before, and I have got to say that they are truly excellent. This is someone who has played on custom-built tables, on mass-produced gaming tables. I got to tell you, these Game Toppers are fantastic. They feature the best of both worlds, featuring beautiful premium wood and finishes, as well as lightweight aluminum to make the setup, breakdown, and transportation a breeze. Plus, you can use thematic gaming mats to match your play experience. So, if you're looking for an affordable solution to your board gaming table needs, look no further than Game Toppers, and you can check them out at GameToppersLLC.com. 2018 is the 10th anniversary for Tasty Minstrel Games, and they're celebrating with a 10th anniversary extravaganza, which includes reprints, special editions, and a whole lot more. Earlier this month, they had the Homesteaders 10th Anniversary Edition on Kickstarter. They made the decision not to deluxify this game so that it could be available at retail, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. TMG is also hard at work putting together a new edition of the second game that launched the company, Terra Prime. Terra Prime will now be set in the very successful Eminent Domain universe as a prequel to Eminent Domain called Eminent Domain Origins. Keep an eye out for more details about this and what else they have on the horizon for their 10th anniversary extravaganza. You can learn more from the TMG podcast hosted by Lance the Undead Viking, and you can check out what else they have in store this year, along with information about all their other amazing titles over at playtmg.com. Arcane Wonders is pleased to announce the release of Senshi coming this May. In Senshi, you are a warrior monk studying diligently at the temple under the tutelage of the current master. You and your fellow students train vigorously every day to improve your mind and body, but your master is ailing, and only one Senshi will become the next master. To prove your worth, you must develop 4 attributes: strength, agility, wisdom, and honor. A true master must be strong in all of these, and weak in none. Senshi is designed by Dan Manfredi. It's a strategy game for 2 to 4 players that takes about 15 minutes to play. You'll carefully manipulate stacks of tiles that represent those 4 attributes: the strength, agility, wisdom, and honor. You'll compete in a battle of wits to become the next master of your temple. You can learn more about Senshi and Arcane Wonders, other amazing titles at arcanewonders.com. In Lords of Hellas, you control an asymmetric hero developed by increasing his or her 3 basic statistics and gathering artifacts. The main stats are leadership that will help you move your armies, strength that will empower you to successfully hunt for monsters, and speed that will make your hero him or herself move faster. Through the game, you can choose from various actions and influence the game thanks to the mighty monuments of base gods, Zeus, Athena, and Hermes. You need to strategically move your armies and hero as well as manage your actions in order to win. Players can win in various ways, by controlling areas, temples, or slaying monsters that are wandering through the map and interfering in various ways. Once any victory condition is met, the game ends, and they're the Lord of Hellas, or Lady of Hellas, if you prefer. So just general thoughts. We're not going to do a deep dive at this point, a little bit later in the review, but generally, what did you guys think of Lords of Hellas?
I really liked this game, and what I liked specifically about it was there's so many different avenues to victory in here. Ellie and Sean played two vastly different games than what I was playing, and it seemed you guys were hunting monsters a lot. The second game specifically, the first game, you and I had a similar strategy. The second game, it was almost like you and I were playing two completely different games, and yet we were still very close to victory, both of us. But we need to talk about who won and lost. It's not important.
It's a great game. I like Andrew said, I love the multiple paths to victory. I like the blessing cards, which we'll get into, that give you amazing, one-off powers. But yeah, great game.
Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed this game quite a bit. Like the episode title suggests, this is the exact type of game that's in my wheelhouse. I love these dudes on a map game that are kind of a hybrid Ameritrash and some Euro elements as well. My absolute favorite game is Kemet, and I'm looking for a game that's better than Kemet. So I will say this, Lords of Hellas is not better than Kemet, but I still think it's quite good. I like where there are multiple victories like we've talked about. Either you're controlling 2 complete regions of the 5 regions of the board, or you're controlling 5 different individual areas with temples, or you're killing 3 monsters, or you're building up these monuments and you happen to control the one area that fully built monument is in. And I think that it creates a lot of interesting opportunities for strategy and shifting. You're like, okay, I'm close to winning this particular way. Oh no, everyone came down my throat to prevent that from happening. Maybe I got to look at this alternate path. And amazing production. Overall, I think it's fantastic.
Speaking specifically to that, I was on a quick path to victory, and then a blessing card went to my main opponent, Raquel, which made it impossible to keep that strategy. So I had to shift halfway through, and that was a real downer. But that's just life sometimes.
So real quick, let's talk about the rule book. This was a good rule book as far as learning the game. I think it goes through. It sets you up to play the game very well. I think it does not do a great job of rules reference.
There needs to be some sort of like appendix or just something that you could go to a keyword and look up what conditions that will bring to the game. I found myself many times in my first play at Dice Tower Con having to go to the rulebook and just really trying to find it out and read through it. So yeah.
So let's talk about, I think, one of the big high points of the game, the art and components. This game has incredible art. It's interesting. It is not ancient Greece. It is sort of this futuristic ancient Greece where it almost has like a Warhammer 40,000 aesthetic, but with ancient Greece thrown in.
I believe Odysseus had a machine gun?
He sure did, which... Andy, you are a Greek scholar, literally.
I have a minor in classical Greek.
Yeah. Was this historically accurate? Did he have a machine gun? Ho, ho, ho.
It depends on the interpretation. The Stanley Lombardo version interpretation of the Odyssey is quite good, and I think there was a machine gun thrown in.
Okay.
It'd be never mind.
Nope, never mind. Let's move on. So the art's really interesting, and then the component production. So this is a miniatures game, and the miniatures are fantastic. So you have cool little hero miniatures, you have these awesome monsters, and then you have these statues, these monuments that are in different levels, because as the game goes on, you're adding a level to them. And it creates just a really nice table presence. I think it looks fantastic.
So I will say that it's one of the most beautiful games that I've played in a long time. But we were playing with a fully painted copy.
Yes.
And with the train expansion. So that adds miniatures for the temples and the cities, which, I mean, they really make the game pop.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, it's just some tokens, which is fine. But I agree that the terrain expansion is, I think, really, really nice addition. We were playing with Rory's copy, which was painted by our friend Jared. My copy is 2/3 painted. I'm still working on that. But yeah, What'd you think of art and components, Sandy?
I thought it was beautiful. I liked the board specifically. I know that's not something. I don't know if that's something.
No, that's a thing.
It's a thing.
That's a thing.
I thought that it was the board was absolutely gorgeous. It really did landscape quite nice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's talk about some specific gameplay things that we liked or didn't like about it. Ellie?
So we talked about Kemet just a little while ago, and that being one of your favorite games. And one thing I found
My favorite.
It is your favorite game. And I've played it with you, I think, 3 times now. And I love the game. It's a great game, but I feel that sometimes at the end of Kemet, there's a little bit of back and forth going on.
Yeah, it's great.
That could drag on a little bit too much for me.
Incorrect analysis. Go on.
One thing I really liked about this game is there is a timing element, so that if a statue is completed to its 5th level, the person that is holding that territory at the end of the round wins the game. That's one of the scoring conditions. So there being 4 different paths to victory and a timing mechanism makes this game a little more accessible for me, because you could get done with this game in 2 hours easily.
Well, I would say that if everyone is on their game and doing what they're supposed to be doing, this game should go about 2.5, 3 hours. Because, and this is, so my critique of a game like Inish, I don't know if you've played Inish, Ellie, I'm not even going to ask you, Andy. So Inish has something similar where there are different paths to victory, and as long as there's enough table talk going on to keep someone from winning, then it could go on. Otherwise, there's going to be this not surprise, but just lightning victory, which is what happened in our first collective game together.
Everyone else, besides for Sean, forgot about the 4th winning condition, which was completely control 2 regions of the board. I think we all forgot about that.
Okay.
I didn't forget about it. I was trusting on you to trust our alliance to focus on Sean, but you were a little too skittish with my armies building up on your border, I believe.
Well, and part of it too, the only thing that actually enabled me to pull off the win in that first collective game. By the way, I've played this 5 times now. Ellie, you've played it 3. Andy, you've got 2 games in. The thing was, and what I love about this game, and I love about a game like Kemet, is that as the game's going on, you're individualizing your army. You're getting all these special rule-breaking abilities. So I completed a quest, which gave me this ability to one time take 2 special actions in one turn. And the special actions are big and they're very limited because you basically have to reset your board in order to reuse a special action. So because I was able to do back-to-back special actions, I was able to, you would look at the board and say, oh, well, he could win in 2 turns. That's fine. We've got this turn to deal with it. And then, but no. So everyone's got to be constantly aware of what's going on.
So also comparing it to Kemet, one of the things that I felt Kemet does better is allowing people to sort of come back from an early mistake. Mm-hmm. I found myself in our first game where I left a territory sort of defenseless. And because of that, Raquel swooped in, took it, and I was hemmed into 2 locations for the rest of the game. And I sort of felt out of that game from then.
And I think the same was true in Raquel in that second game, because she kind of had a weird initial placement. And then the order in which she did things the first couple rounds really kind of put her behind the 8 ball, so that she was never really in contention to win that second game. Until the very end. Until the end. I know, it's interesting.
Because she got the ability. I had her armies outnumbered, 4-1 at one point, but she had a card that limited the attacker to only play 1 combat card.
Right.
And she had like 5 cards, so she was fending off my attacks, and that changed the game for me and helped her expand, and she was about 1 turn away from winning had Ellie not swooped in and won. Not swooped in. He stole your monster.
Okay, so yeah, that's the other thing too. So while you're fighting over all these territories, you could be choosing to instead go slay out these monsters that show up and that do kind of interfere with what's happening on the board. And Ellie was playing in that game Heracles, who is well suited to fighting the monsters. I got some interesting cards that made me be a contender to do that. And so I killed 1 monster and then I weakened another one. And then Ellie swooped in and killed the Chimera? Or I forget who it was.
It was the Hydra.
The Hydra.
Yeah. And that's a hard one to kill, too.
It is a hard one to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that was annoying. And then I was still in the running because I was going to actually rush a monument victory because I was just loading up 1 territory with the Zeus monument. Other people had built up Zeus and I built him up and I was going to just need to go monument. And I don't think anyone could have really taken me out there, could have deployed their forces in time to stop me. But then once you had gotten your second monster, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion.
Well, one thing I do like, another thing that I like about this game is the blessing cards. The more temples that are put on the board, the more drafts that you're going to have with blessing cards, and you can try to pick the blessing cards that are going to suit your game style. So I knew I was going to try to slay monsters, so I was doing everything in my power to get combat cards, things that let me hold more combat cards in my hand, things like that would really help me focus on killing monsters. So I mean, I was able to go in and beat the Chimera in one shot. Without even having to draft cards. And that was easy for me to make that victory at that point. I also had a special ability through an artifact that let me move my hero from any space on the board to another space on the board, so I could just jump around the board and not really have to worry about my speed or maneuvering through other obstacles like other monsters. I could just jump right in.
Right. And I think as far as a dudes on a map game goes, I think this one's really good. I think that it has a lot of that dudes on a map feel of trying to take over territories, build up your forces, and then the hero aspect too, letting him go around and do the quests, defeat the monsters, and sometimes even supplement your armies, I think is really interesting. It's almost like there's all these mini games mixed in with a dudes on a map game.
I agree. I think the only really contentious part of this for me was a certain pronunciation of words.
Hold on one second. I guess we can go in to the theme portion if you would like, because we were in gameplay. So
okay, is that what we're doing?
Now we'll talk about theme. That's the structure of the review. So, Andy, was this a thematic game in your mind? Are you seriously going to write this in Greek?
No, I'm not actually. I have something for you. So, I mean, what are the name of the army units?
Hooploots.
I believe you're trying to say
They're Hopolicisis.
I believe we're trying to say hoplites.
Yes, or the anglicized hoplites.
Okay, can you pronounce that word for me, please?
Yeah, Socrates.
Socrates?
Have you not seen Bill and Ted's
I've
Excellent
seen Bill
Adventure?
and Ted, so we're going to go with the anglicized version of Socrates instead of Socrates?
Yeah, it just depends.
Yeah, totally.
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we were intentionally mispronouncing. Well, sorry,
not intentionally.
I was intentionally mispronouncing
not
other names.
Intentionally.
Other names.
Nope.
Chimera? I was intentionally mispronouncing Chimera.
I was not,
You were
but
not.
I was definitely mispronouncing them.
No, it was just a fun moment when I'm like, why are we calling them hoplites? And you're like, because they're hoplites. And I was like, no. And then you just dug your heels in like you do.
And for the record, I also studied Greek, Koine Greek. You studied...
Koine. Oh, that's cute. Did you also study Pidgin English?
Anyway, wow.
It's very thematic.
Anyway, yes, it was a very thematic game.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a very Ameritrashy game.
Yeah.
And I think that the theme bled through. I think it was really solid.
I would definitely play it again. I was looking for your coding for what rankings you give it. What's the one where I would keep it in my closet and play it from time to time? Is that a number value?
Yes, it is. So let's go into final thoughts. Here at the Dukes of Dice, we use a 6-point scale. Here, I'll just talk to you, Andy.
Okay.
So Andy.
Yes.
Here on the Dukes of Dice.
Yes.
We do a 6-point scale.
I've never heard of the show.
A 1 is not a great game. A 6 is an all-time favorite that's contender for our top 10. So yeah, let's start with you, Ellie. What are your final thoughts and your final rating for Lords of Hellas?
So I'd say that overall it's a very fun game. I think it's very snappy. I feel like I'm always doing something. I don't feel like there's a lot of times where I'm waiting for other players to make decisions. I'm sort of focusing on my next turn while they're doing that, unless there's a hoplite battle. But Hooplatuses. But anyways, I feel that sometimes on the Dudes on the Map game, you're waiting for other people to do massive turns, and I didn't feel like this got slogged down into that. So I'd rate it a 5 out of 6. It's definitely a game that I'd be looking to pick up. I would definitely want to paint it. I would definitely want the expansion with the terrain. But my only problem is trying to find people to play it with. But I have one other person to play it with in Phoenix. Anyone in Phoenix, I'm down to play games. But yeah, so I give it a 5.
And for the record, a 5 is a great game. We'll rarely turn down a play of it.
Yeah, I'd second that. I had a great time. I don't know if you guys noticed in our years of friendship, but playing games, I'm rather impatient with slow movers.
No.
And I felt this game had a very good pace. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the themes. I enjoyed arguing over stuff that I'm pedantic about for once instead of just you. So yeah, I'd rank it a 5. I think it's a great game. Whenever Ellie's going to play it, I'm going to drive 20 miles to his house. But yeah, I'll come over, I guess. Jesse says it's okay.
No, you can come over whenever.
So this was something that I saw on Kickstarter, and I really wanted to back, but it was pricey on Kickstarter with all the additions, and now I'm kind of kicking myself because I wish I owned all of the extra Kickstarter components. Basically, we played with the retail edition with the terrain upgrade pack. Like I said at the very top, I really want to find a game that's better than Kemet because I love Kemet so much that if it's game's better, hey, by all means. This, like I said, is not better than Kemet, but it's still quite good. So the question is it a 6 or is it a 5 for me? I don't think it's a contender for the top 10. I think this is probably my new favorite dudes on a map game that isn't Kemet.
It's different enough from Kemet. We're comparing it to Kemet, but it is different enough from Kemet where you could have both of them in your collection and be fine.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm gonna keep this game. I'm gonna keep this and obviously keep Kemet. But yeah, I'm gonna wind up on a 5 as well. So 3 5s. A great game. Will rarely turn down a play of it.
We should play Kemet sometimes. I've never played it before.
I know. Stupid 1846.
You've been talking about it a lot.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
In the box on the table next to us the entire weekend.
And I brought it to my birthday night at Empire 2 weeks ago. We didn't get it played there. I am jonesing for Kemet after all of these Lords of Hellas plays that I've been playing for the last month or so. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for our review of Lords of Hellas, a 5 all around from Andy, Ellie, and Sean. Very quickly, because these guys get down to flights, let's do the rest of our naming top 6 episode titles. So the first one is from Jesse Metcalf. He suggested An Attorney in Hellas. Alternatively, he suggested Sean Solo, which would have compared very nicely with Con Solo, which was last episode's title, where Alex was at Dice Tower Con by himself. John Knost suggested An Egregious Absence?
An egregious absence?
Well, egregious, but eat grease.
No, I get it, but that's what we're going for?
Okay. Yeah. See what we did there through greasing? The next one was from BJ from Board Game Gumbo, which raised eyebrows at first until we realized the reference. And that's the 85% solution, which at first we were thinking the final solution, which a little, Hitler and such. But it's a reference to a Sherlock Holmes story written by Richard Myers of Star Trek fame, called the 7% solution. Basically the reference to Alex's survey in which he realized that 15% of our listeners tend to prefer his taste in games.
Team Alex.
Yeah, you're not Team Alex.
I love Alex.
Sure, but you're definitely not Team Alex for numerous reasons.
I feel like I'm Team Alex out of spite.
No, you actually might. No, sure, whatever you said. So yeah, the 85% solution. And then Mr. Punter came in with Duke of Die. Just really focus on the solo element there. The one I was really fighting for was one that Steve O'Rourke, when he first heard SeanCon was happening a month ago, messaged me and said, I'm getting in my title entry now before anyone else can claim it. And it's Sean Connery. Sean Connery. Little tomfoolery in there. I think it's a fantastic name. And you guys just, because it was stroking my ego,
little self-serving.
Yeah, it's not like I have a whole podcast or anything. All right. Well, thanks everyone over on the Guild for helping name the episode. Really appreciate that. If you want to see some pictures of all the games you played at SeanCon, go check out our Twitter feed. But that's going to do it for episode 180, Achilles Heel and Sean's Wheel. Thanks again to Jesse Black for naming that. Andy, thank you very much for coming on the show.
I had a blast. This was a great weekend.
Yeah.
It's great to see you, not just for a convention, just because I value our friendship.
But it was a convention.
It was a convention.
Yeah, so never mind.
It was great to see you.
Ellie, thank you.
Anytime. SeanCon 2. It's going to be great. Next con, we might get more than 5 people at the con. But it was,
we had good. I was fine. I was very happy with these numbers. I got to play a bunch of games, and I was very happy. So I really do appreciate you guys coming out, and I appreciate Andy, you suffering through a bunch more games than you would probably normally want to play in one go.
Let's not call it suffering. I actually did enjoy myself, but I'm impatient. I don't like to sit still for too long.
That's true. All right. Well, next episode, Alex and I are going to be back together again. We'll review Rajas of the Ganges, I believe, is the plan. So until next time, this is Sean.
And Ellie.
And Andy.
And Duke you later, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Dukes of Dice. Today's episode was recorded in the Duchy on July 22nd, 2018. Our theme music is provided by Carbohydro M from his Prime Legacy album. The Dukes of Dice are a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. For other great board gaming podcasts, check out dicetowernetwork.com. And for all the latest in the Duchy, go to dukesofdice.com. Find us on Twitter at Dukes of Dice, join in conversations on our Board Game Geek Guild, find us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsors, Tasty Minstrel Games, Arcane Wonders, and Game Toppers LLC. Check out all of their awesome stuff. We'll see you back here next episode. Until then, game on.